disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Dzień dobry. This is Joanne Yanitsky, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the April 2nd, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I wish you could see the front page of this week's Am-Pol Eagle. It's the full front page, and it is a photograph that was taken at St. Gualbert's Church in Cheektowaga, New York. This is last year's photo, and it was taken by Peter Sloan. And it is after Easter Sunday, because there is the risen Christ and the empty tomb, and it's surrounded by Easter flowers galore and palms and all kinds of other greenery, and it is just beautiful. And of course, the caption reads, Vesoega, Alleluia. In order to get that full page photograph on the front page, totally worth it, the usual sequence of articles in this week's issue is a little discombobulated, not a problem, but it's also a loaded issue. Don't know if I'm going to be able to get to everything. 19 pages. Usually it's 12. I skimmed it quickly just to see how many pages were going to be in this week, and I just kept going and going and going. Lots of photographs. So let's jump right in. Welcome to a new Polish Community Center. With great joy and deep gratitude, we welcome you to our new Polish Community Center, said Dave Lodiga, one of the dedicated crew working to make the social center at St. Stanislaus Church on Buffalo's east side a home for Polish organizations. Quote, this building represents far more than wall and a roof. It is a home for our Polish traditions, language, our culture, and the spirit of togetherness that has always defined the Polish community, said Lodiga. He said the center exists because of individuals' dedication, generosity, and support. Quote, whether you have contributed your time, skills, resources, or simply your encouragement, said Lodiga, we are profoundly thankful for the unity and determination that carried us to this moment, end quote. He thanked the volunteers, donors, and talented people that assisted in putting the project together. Those who have worked on it include John Bankowski, Mark Boyland, Joe Cook, Anya Dushan, Robert Franczkowiak, Eddie Gavran, Travis Lodiga, Zbigniew Matuszewski, Jean Pohanczak, Tony Polak, Bogdan Szymczyk, Dorothy Wozniak, Paul Wozniak, and Tom Zawadzki. We now open the doors. They look forward to utilizing a place where Polish heritage is celebrated and shared. Families and friends gather to learn, grow, and connect. Newcomers find support and a sense of belonging. Polish traditions are preserved for future generations. Now, Lodiga says, quote, we invite you to make this center your own, a place filled with warmth, pride, and the unmistakable heart of Polonia, end quote. Lots of photographs, decorations. I'm assuming these decorations are on a wall. The Polish falcon and smacznego and kielbasa, pierogi, sledge, zupa, bigos, and other other plaques, the wood carvings, I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I know we had them in our house growing up, brought back from Poland. There is a bar, looks like sodas. I'm not seeing liquor, I'm not seeing beer taps, but it's hard to tell from a photograph. And perhaps for special occasions. Let's see. High top tables with bar stools around. Also some photographs on the walls, poster type photographs, but I can't make out what they are. And a big sign that says Stolat. One of my favorite Polish expressions. I use it for lots of things. So I'm sure we'll be hearing more about the new Polish Community Center and events that will be taking place there. And it looks pretty spiffy from these pictures, let's just say that. Okay, we have Happy Easter to all our members, their families, and all of Polonia from the Polish and Slavic Federal Credit Union. We have the Buffalo-Pittsburgh Diocese of the Polish National Catholic Church, Bishop John E. Mack, Wesołego Alleluja, Blessed Easter. Okay, we have David Franchik's The Eagle Eye. I'm probably not going to read everything, but the headline reads, Airborne Eddie hit by cancel culture. Let's see what happened to Airborne Eddie. Caught in a wider political web. The Am-Pol Eagle reported in its March 19th edition about a political Donnybrook brewing before the Cheektowaga Town Board regarding which Polish-American organization may be the eventual sponsor of the very successful Summer Polish Festival, which is held annually at Cheektowaga Town Park. After indicating that the board wants to, quote, get out of the festival business, end quote, the body decreed that it will throw the Polish festival, quote, out to bid, end quote, in 2027, although the Western New York division of the Polish American Congress will continue to put on the event this summer. Needless to say, it seems unlikely that more than 2 organizations at most will likely compete to run the show next year. The cause celeb to throw the doors open to rebid the Polish festival circles around one of the festival's principals, well-known Polonia activist and organizer Edward Airborne Eddie Dobashevich. In the interest of full disclosure, I am a good friend of Eddie Dobashevich and enthusiastically assisted his effort to revive Dingus Day on the East Side 20 years ago through a unique Dingus Day parade Eddie proposed and organized. At the time, I served as Fillmore District Council member and wanted to do what I could to revitalize the old heart of Polonia, and I recognized that Eddie's idea had great potential. And through his very hard work and dedication, the parade became a huge success, ballooning from about 8 floats the first year to well over 100 units today, with thousands of people lining the streets and filling area church halls, bars, the Broadway Market, which used to be closed on the day after Easter, and other venues. Eddie's Dingus Day Parade put the East Side on the map in an incredibly positive way that is recognized not only in Western New York, but on the national level. A couple of years ago, I wrote a profile on Eddie Dobashevich for the Am-Pol Eagle, stating that Eddie is a passionate, hard-charging advocate for Polonia. His inspiration is East Side philanthropist Sister Mary Desponsata, after whom he named his foundation. I also wrote that Eddie is impatient for change, and some people are put off by him being, quote, too aggressive, abrasive, or in it only for himself, end quote. I didn't care about those kinds of accusations. I admire Eddie because he gets things done that helps Polonia, and that's all that matters. There might be a jealousy factor at work here. To my thinking, it is foolish and self-defeating to kick Eddie out of involvement with the Polish festival. Working with many dedicated board members and volunteers, he's a big reason it has been so successful. Okay, so Eddie, it sounds like Eddie's still going to be in charge this year, and that's a good thing. And next year, the event will go out to bid. So let's just wait and see what happens here. Okay, moving right along. We have Kaminsky & Sons Truck Equipment, Wesołego Alleluja. St. Francis High School, Father Matthew J. Foley, President, wishing everyone a holy, happy Easter. I'm going to jump to Polish news bites. Poland rejects U.S. request to redeploy Patriot missiles. Poland has rejected a U.S. request to deploy its Patriot air defense system to the Middle East, underscoring its focus on regional security. Defense Minister Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz stated that the systems are essential for protecting Polish territory and NATO's eastern flank, particularly given ongoing tensions related to Russia's war in Ukraine. The request reportedly emerged amid growing strain on U.S. missile resources due to Middle East operations. However, Warsaw emphasized that its recently operational Patriot batteries, acquired in late 2025, are a cornerstone of national defense and cannot be diverted. Poland moves forward with digital services tax. Poland is preparing new legislation to impose a digital services tax targeting major global tech companies. The proposal, announced by Deputy Prime Minister Krzysztof Gawkowski, would levy up to 3% on revenues generated from online advertising, data usage, and digital platforms. The tax would apply to companies with global revenues exceeding 1 billion euros and significant earnings within Poland. Officials argue the measure is designed to create a fairer competitive environment for domestic businesses while boosting government revenues to support digital infrastructure. However, the initiative risks tension with the United States, which has historically opposed such taxes, viewing them as disproportionately targeting American firms like Google, Apple, and Amazon. Previous similar proposals have drawn criticism from U.S. officials. Long queues at Poland-Ukraine border ahead of Easter. Heavy congestion has been reported at major crossings along the Poland-Ukraine border as thousands of Ukrainians travel home for Orthodox Easter. Authorities warned of multi-hour delays, with vehicle queues stretching up to 6 kilometers at key checkpoints, such as Korczowa, Krakowec, and Medyka Szejny. The surge reflects seasonal travel patterns among Ukrainian citizens living and working across the European Union. Many are returning home to celebrate the holiday with family, placing significant strain on border infrastructure. Polish and Ukrainian customs services have coordinated efforts to manage the increased traffic, but officials acknowledge that delays are difficult to avoid during peak travel periods. I'm thinking Peace Bridge. Let's see here. Dingus Day continues to grow. This is an editorial. This year is a special one for organizers of the Dingus Day Parade in Buffalo. The vision of Marty Biniaz and Eddie Dobashevich 20 years ago developed Buffalo's Dingus Day celebration into a regional event that attracts visitors from across New York, surrounding states, and southern Ontario. The Broadway Fillmore neighborhood comes alive on Easter Monday for a unique celebration that spills over into parishes, clubs, and establishments in the part of Buffalo which was once the center of the Polish community. In North Tonawanda, residents will be treated to the 6th annual Dingus Day Parade and after party. This year, it was disappointing to some that the route was changed, running from Oliver and heading into the city of Tonawanda, and no longer includes Oliver Street near Our Lady of Częstochowa Church in Dumpolski. However, the Dingus Day in Polonia, North Tonawanda Block Party, has been organized to serve the traditional Polish neighborhood. And no matter where you go in Western New York, you'll be just a stone's throw away from bars, parishes, or clubs hosting Dingus Day parties with music and much more. The roots of Dingus Day celebrations can be traced back to the Kosciuszko Street clubrooms of the Chopin Singing Society, where the after-Easter event attracted political and community leaders, club members, and local residents. We hope the fellowship and nonpartisan nature of this annual rite of spring can continue in a safe and joyous fashion. Gonna be a big day in Buffalo. Okay, let's see here. Scrolling right along. Polonia's calendar. Saturday, April 11th. Anna Sulkowska-Migon to conduct the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra. 7:30 p.m., Kleinhans Music Hall Symphony Circle in Buffalo, New York. For tickets, call 716-885-5000. That's the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra number. Or the website is bpo.org. Performance is sponsored by David Schopp and Mark Peszko, the Polish Chair of Polish Culture at Canisius University and the Kosciuszko Foundation. Also on Saturday, April 11th, St. John Gualbert Meat Raffle. Fraternal Order of Eagles, 4569 Broadway in Depew, New York. Doors open at 5, first spin at 6. Ticket admission includes beer, wine, pop, and water. For tickets, call Sue, 716-984-7134. Again, 716-984-7134. Sunday, April 12th, all Polonia Mass celebrating Divine Mercy Sunday and Feast of St. Stanislaus. St. Stanislaus Church, 389 Peckham Street in Buffalo. It's 10:15 a.m. Mass with a reception to follow in the St. Stanislaus Social Center. The Polish American community and friends are invited to gather in prayer. Sunday, May 3rd, Bieszczada Banquet and Polish Constitution Day celebration. A fun roast and toast banquet honoring Andy Gołębiowski. It's at Tewksbury Lodge, the Waterfront Banquet Hall at Buffalo Riverfest Park, 249 Ohio Street in Buffalo. Starts at 4 p.m. There's a dinner buffet and a cash bar. Polish Arts Club members, $65, non-members, $70. For information, call 716-876-8108, extension 133. Again, 716-876-8108, extension 133. Let's take our first break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We have a couple save the dates here. Tuesday, August 4th. I missed one. July 24th, 25th, and 26th is the Polish American Arts Festival in Cheektowaga Town Park, Cheektowaga, New York. Polish food and beverage, music, crafts, dancing groups, exhibits, lectures, demonstrations, and more. It's free to get in. Also, save the date, Tuesday, August 4th, Buffalo Bison's Polish Festival Night. Pre-game club-level party starts at 5:30 with live music, great Polish food specials, and more. Bison's Leadership Award presented to Tom and Paula Golemowski of the Happy Swallow. Polish American of the Year Award presented to Mary Lou Vedobek. Post-game fireworks. Okay, so put those on the calendar. If you don't put it on the calendar, you're going to forget about it. Doesn't mean you're locked in to go. Just mean you don't want to forget about it, just in case. Okay, Tom Tadapachki. And his Tom Talk. Looks like a serious subject. 33 photos documents Warsaw Ghetto uprising. There are 3 small black and white photos. Fire truck, lots of smoke and flames in one of them. And the photos are by Zbigniew Leszek Grywachewski. And in parentheses it says Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's see what Tom has to say. You might not think that a documentary about a single roll of film of photographs taken during the Nazi invasion of Poland would be engrossing. But 33 photos from the ghetto provides a different perspective to a sad chapter in world history. The 33 photographs were recently discovered and were determined to be the only known images of the 1943 Warsaw Ghetto uprising that were not taken by the German occupiers. The photographer was 23-year-old Zbigniew Leszek Grywachewski, a Polish firefighter who had access to the ghetto as a member of the Warsaw Fire Service. Established in 1834, the Warsaw Fire Service, or Guard, was officially nationalized by the Nazis after the start of World War II. However, the unit remained largely independent, and most of its members fought with the Polish underground. While the service put out many fires during the war, they were prevented by the German forces from extinguishing the blazes when the ghetto was set afire. While the Germans took photos to document their activities for propaganda purposes, no one else was allowed to take pictures. However, Grywachewski took his camera and, at great personal risk, chronicled the brutality, starvation, disease, deportations, and ultimately the destruction of the Warsaw Ghetto. The photos were found by his brother, hidden in his apartment's floorboard after the photographer's death. Some of the images are very disturbing, such as those of a building in the ghetto set on fire by the Nazis. Some of the occupants were burned to death, while others jumped to their deaths, while others were shot when they fled the building. The Warsaw Fire Service was present, but not allowed to put out the inferno. Directed by French filmmaker Jan Charlewski, this documentary doesn't focus on just the 33 pictures, but provides perspective and tells the stories behind them. Along with the account of the Warsaw Ghetto, we learn of the personal story of the photographer himself, his family, and the Jewish family they helped hide during the war. Grywachewski's descendants, as well as historians, provide information about his life. One of those interviewed was Roma Laks Kaplan. She recalled a frightening experience as a young Jewish girl while being sheltered by the Grywachewskis. 2 SS officers and an informant came in one night. The informant, speaking Yiddish, asked Roma her name. Not knowing the language, she responded innocently, "I'm sorry, but I don't speak German." The SS then left the apartment. Another interesting perspective comes from comparing the locations of some of the photos to present-day Warsaw. Grywachewski, who was also active in the Polish resistance movement and fought in the Warsaw Uprising, died in 1993. In his diary, he revealed why he held on to the photos for so long. Quote, "I deliberately kept them for so long with the idea of releasing them when the world begins to forget these things." End quote. 33 Photos from the Ghetto is available on HBO Max. So if you have a subscription to HBO Max, check it out. Okay, Tom continues. One Pot Wonder. Poles have long been involved in all aspects of movie production, something that was recognized during the recent Golden Globe Awards by an Irish actress. Jessie Buckley won the Golden Globe for Best Actress, and during her acceptance speech had praise for Polish members of the film crew and their soup. Buckley won the award for her portrayal of Agnes, wife of William Shakespeare, following the couple's death of their son, Hamnet. Despite the very English subject matter, the movie had multinational appeal, including a heavy Polish representation. That group included cinematographer Łukasz Żal and costume designer Małgorzata Tużanska. In her acceptance speech, Buckley, who later won the Oscar, thanked director Chloe Zhao and her co-stars. She then praised the rest of the crew and cast. Quote, "It was such an extraordinary set to be a part of because we were telling the story of probably the most famous Brit that ever lived. And we had a Chinese director, a lot of Irish and mostly Polish crew," she said. She then singled out a crew member. Quote, "I'd really like to thank our key grip," Buckley said, shouting out crew member Tomasz Sternicki. Quote, "During shooting, he started to disappear a little bit, and I found him one day at the back of his truck, and he was chopping up potatoes and onions and meat. He brought his ginormous cast iron pot over from Poland, and he was making soup. And this soup started turning up on the set. It was delicious." She added, "Thanks for bringing your pot to set." "It was such a surprise," said Sternicki, who was on vacation with his family at the time. He continued, "I couldn't believe she said that during such an important moment in her career. It was such a nice gesture to thank me for cooking soup on set while she was receiving a prize." End quote. He also revealed that his goulash contains beef, onions, potatoes, paprika, and red chilies, but that actually there is no recipe for the soup. End quote. By the way, in movie making, a grip is a skilled technician who sets up, operates, and maintains equipment that supports cameras and lighting. However, the most recognized Pole who worked on the film was probably Tużanska, who has been nominated for awards by the Golden Globes, Academy of Motion Pictures, and the Costume Designers Guild for her work on Hamnet. So, my friends report Hamnet is a very, very good movie. So you can see it and sit for the credits so you can see all the Polish names. But also a reminder about HBO Max and 33 photos from the ghetto. I'm sure it's very, very moving. Okay. Lots of photographs. 5 winners from 27 entries named Buffalo's Best Kielbasa. Photos are by Peter Sloan. I'm looking quickly. It's all the contestants in Buffalo's Best Kielbasa contest with their awards and with the judges at Potts Banquet Hall on Rossler Avenue in Cheektowaga, New York. Now, I must say, there is not a lady in the group. I guess the smoking tradition, the kielbasa smoking tradition, the homemade kielbasa tradition is a man's world, at least in this contest. There is also a photograph, Todd and Janet Nyasuk, along with Anne-Marie Franzik, who counted the votes as guests tried the samples. Let's see here. More photographs. People in front of the hot pans filled with kielbasa, looks like some potatoes, crock pots, and dancers, of course, doing the polka. What else would you have? So let's see what this is going to be about. Before I go on reading, I'm going to take our next break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The best homemade sausage makers in Western New York competed March 28, 2026 during the 12th Buffalo Best Kielbasa Contest at Potts Banquet Hall. In addition to the contest, attendees enjoyed live music from Captain Tom and the Hooligans and food from Potts Deli and Grill. 27 entries were received this year, all from homemade sausage makers. Winners were announced in the following categories. Fresh Traditional, Keith Bednarz. Smoked Traditional, Michael Martinez. Fresh Holiday with Marjoram, Andrew House. Smoked Holiday with Marjoram, Steve Slazak. Non-traditional, Keith Bednarz again. Quote, "It was another great contest thanks to all the entrants who shared their culinary talent with us," organizer Todd Niazuk said. He continues, "Thanks also to our sponsors for making it possible to continue this great addition to the Polish Easter season." End quote. Buffalo's Best Kielbasa Contest is presented with support from Fillmore District Common Council member Mitch Nowakowski, the sausage maker, Buffalo Distilling Company, Potts Banquet Hall, and the Big Easy in Buffalo. The following judges picked the winners from the entries received. Roy Bacchus, teacher, chef, and bon vivant. Kelly Dudzik, WGRZ-TV. David Franchik, Buffalo's Best Kielbasa Contest founder, former Buffalo Common Council member. Rob Franczkowiak, Polish Arts Club of Buffalo. Andrew Galarno, 4bites.net. Dave Greber, WIVB-TV. Teddy Nyasuk, American Legion Post 735, AmVets Post 8113. Todd Nyasuk, Friends of St. Adelbert Basilica, the Big Easy in Buffalo. Joe Matamore, Buffalo Distilling Company. The Honorable Mitch Nowakowski, Buffalo Common Council member. Chef Johnny Pa, the sausage maker. And Father Cole Webster, Greater East Buffalo family of parishes. I don't know if I've mentioned this in a previous reading, but I heard it from the horse's mouth. The Honorable Mitch Nowakowski will be traveling to Poland this summer, and he's very excited about going. Has never been, first trip. So I'm sure we'll hear more about it from him. Happy Easter, Alleluia, from the Polish Arts Club of Buffalo. Wishing you an Easter season filled with peace and the joys of springtime weather ahead. Amen. Wesołego Alleluia from the Polish Heritage Dancers of Western New York. On Dingus Day at 12 noon, they'll be at the Polish Falcons in Depew. In the afternoon, they'll be at different Eastside Polonia venues. They'll be in the parade at 5:30, and at 7 o'clock in the evening, they'll be dancing at the M Hotel in Buffalo on Walden Avenue. We have Happy Easter, Wesołego Alleluia from the Buckeye family, Carl, Deborah, Craig, Kathleen, Colleen, Claire, and Daniel. Happy Easter, Wesołego Alleluia from the Cheektowaga Veterinary Hospital on Dick Road in Cheektowaga. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit here. 'Tis the season. There is a little photograph here of a seed rack display. Vegetables. I see hot peppers, several hot peppers, tomatoes, some cherry tomatoes. I see pumpkin and squash. I see yellow peppers, lots of radishes. This is a good time to start radishes. And what appears to be maybe spinach at the bottom. That one's hard to tell. Okay, Polonia Gardens, A Spring Tease by Renia Senko-Hanchak. The first signs of spring include the return of the robins and the arrival of the seed packets. Are your thoughts starting to turn to gardening projects and ideas you want to try out? Have you checked out your favorite garden centers yet? For inspiration and garden tips, here are some websites to explore. We have GardenGateMagazine.com. We have BHG.com. That's for Better Homes and Gardens. FineGardening.com. Now, I have a request. Please send me recommendations for gardens you would like me to share with our readers. I've come upon wonderful gardens in Polonia, and I met great gardeners. Looking forward to your suggestions. Please send your suggestions for Polonia Gardens to editor@ampoleagle.com or mail to Polonia Gardens, care of Am-Pol Eagle, 3620 Harlem Road, Cheektowaga, New York, 14215. Renia Senko-Hanchak featured my photographs of my seed starting activities a few years ago. So she takes the photographs that you submit seriously. Maybe you have some daffodils popping up or some specialty daffodils and tulips you want to show off. Send her the pictures. Okay, St. Stanislaus Church taps into the internet. Photos by Peter Sloan. And the caption, two gentlemen with some kind of wiring or cabling, not sure. And the caption reads, "Getting ready to go live." Bob and Trevor Mayock of Robert Mark Audio were at St. Stanislaus Church in Buffalo last week to wire and electronically prepare the church so that events at the church can be live streamed. How about that? And below it is a photograph of Trevor. He's working on a laptop and he is setting up some audio. I'm not sure what that board is. I suppose it could be lighting, it could be audio, but he's testing out the wiring and configuration and whatnot. So I'm sure there will be an announcement in the Am-Pol Eagle as soon as live streaming of Masses at St. Stan's begins. Okay, moving right along. Lots and lots and lots of photographs. The tables are literally just packed. We'll find out where this hall is. A stage filled with youngsters. There's microphones and the music stands and the kids surrounding them. And I see maybe an Easter bunny. There's some kind of costumes, a little tricky to make out in the distance. Then there is a charming photograph of two young Krakowianki dancers in their special costumes, and they're singing into microphones. And there are two other young boys who are singing with them. We have more pictures of the stage and some better pictures of the children in their costumes on the stage. And there is a photograph of Easter baskets. I'm not sure if they're being blessed. At first I thought they were being blessed, and then I realized that was a microphone. So let's see what this says. An early Easter, March 29th. The Polish Saturday School Święconka was held March 29th, 2026 at St. Stanislaus Social Center, 389 Peckham Street in Buffalo. The event included a traditional Easter play, an historical presentation by Rick Falkowski, Easter breakfast, basket raffles, and more. And again, Peter Sloan took some great photographs here. We have Happy Easter, May the blessings of Easter bring you faith, renewal, and peace from the Polish National Alliance of the United States of North America. They're in Chicago, Illinois. And wishing all of Polonia a very happy Easter. Polish Falcons Nest 6, home of the Krupnik Club, 3171 Broadway, near Union Road in Cheektowaga, New York. Okay. More photographs. An outdoor Palm Sunday procession was held March 29th at St. Casimir Church on Cable Street in Buffalo, New York. Reverend Walter Grabowski was the celebrant. And the procession starts outside, and there are banners and leading the priest in. I'm guessing that's Father Walter Grabowski. And then there is a photograph of Father Grabowski in front of the big double doors, and over the doors it reads, "The House of God and Gate of Heaven." This is not a photograph, this is some kind of drawing or painting, and kind of a folklore drawing, if you will. Dancers, a cow or an ox pulling some kind of tool to grade the farmland. And there is the owner of the oxen with a bag of seeds on his shoulder. And it's very colorful. It's very pretty. The caption reads, "Celebrating Spring." The Polish Museum of America in Chicago is hosting Night at the Museum, Sip and Paint, inspired by Stydienska, Part 1, Spring on Friday, April 10th at 6 p.m. It is billed as, quote, "an evening of creativity, conversation, and culture at one of Chicago's true hidden gems, the Polish Museum of America," end quote. Participants can enjoy a glass of wine as they create with Patricia Stepniak a vibrant painting inspired by the work of Zofia Stydienska, the celebrated Polish Art Deco artist. For more information, visit www.polishmuseumofamerica.org. This looks like a pretty complicated photo to duplicate. So I'm thinking this is not the artwork they will be copying. It's just one of Zofia Stydienska's pieces of artwork. But makes me wish Chicago was closer. Okay, KF plans dinner and ball. The 89th Kosciuszko Foundation Annual Dinner and Ball will be held on Saturday, April 25th, 7 p.m. at the Plaza in New York City. This year, the foundation will celebrate 250 years of Polish-American friendship and honor community leaders. The honorees include Jamie and Stephen Kuzmiachak, recipients of the Kosciuszko Foundation Medal of Recognition, recognized for their distinguished philanthropic leadership, devoted service, and generous contributions to the Kosciuszko Foundation, as well as their enduring support of Polish culture, heritage, and Polish-American friendship. Recipient of the Kosciuszko Foundation Spirit Award, Kristen Miller is the driving force behind its Teaching English in Poland program. Through her vision, professionalism, and unwavering commitment, she has helped the program grow into one of the foundation's most meaningful and impactful initiatives. Happy Easter, Wesołego Alleluja from the Pulaski Police Association of Buffalo and Western New York. Happy Easter from Cadets Federal Credit Union. two offices, 927 Grant Street in Buffalo, New York. That's pretty much Grant and Amherst, and 1751 Transit Road in Elma, New York, for the suburbanites. There is Wesołego Alleluja from author Sophie Hodorowicz-Nab, and a sampling of her books that are available through polartcenter.com, Amazon Books, the Polish Country Kitchen Cookbook, Polish Customs, Traditions, and Folklores, Polish Herbs, Flowers, and Folk Medicine. Much to keep you going. Let's take our last break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Archaeologists discover traces of forgotten medieval town. Two black and white photographs. One is a forested area, and the caption reads, Stolzenberg Moat and Ramparts, and the credit goes to M. Shepkovsky. And then there is, I don't know if this is a sculpture of some sort or clay carving. It says relics of the medieval town of Stolzenberg based on a digital terrain model. And that is credit P. Wronecki. Archaeologists have discovered traces of the medieval town of Stolzenberg near the settlement of Zagrody, close to Słaboże in northwestern Poland. The town was likely founded in the second half of the 13th century, or at the beginning of the 14th century, and existed only briefly before being abandoned under unknown circumstances. The first written records mentioning Stolzenberg date to the 16th century. Now, archaeologists from Poland's Relikta Foundation also found references in 19th century German literature describing the remains of a deserted town near Sławoborze. According to those accounts, traces of fortifications were still visible, and local field names included Altstad, or Old Town, and Hospital. The first archaeological evidence confirming medieval activity at the site was obtained during preliminary metal detector surveys conducted in 2020 and 2021. Researchers supported by the Pazenta Exploration and Search Group from Kołobrzeg discovered more than 400 metal artifacts dating from the late 13th to the 15th century. The finds include tools, clothing elements such as belt fittings, and brooches and coins. Among them were medieval bracelets. I'm not sure. Bracteates from Szczawowo and Szczecin, as well as a denarius issued by Barnim II. Further work carried out in 2025, including geophysical analyses, LiDAR drone scanning, and geological drilling. The results confirm that the remains of a forgotten medieval town are preserved in forests near the Zagrody settlement. Researchers also managed to identify the layout of the settlement. Quote, in an area of approximately 6 hectares surrounded by a rampart and moat, we detected over 1,500 anomalies, unusual terrain features, suggesting the presence of buried structures, such as ancient buildings. Drilling confirmed the presence of such layers exceeding 2 meters in depth. Some of them form a regular layout characteristic of towns founded under German law. In the central part, a probable market square is visible, surrounded by burger plots, only some of which have been built on, as well as the course of the main street leading to the town gate, said Piotr Wronecki from the Relikta Foundation. Because the area has remained forested and largely undeveloped, the town's earthwork fortifications have been preserved in very good condition. The moat surrounding the settlement is still about 5.5 meters deep. Initial radiocarbon dating of organic material indicates that the town existed as early as the first decades of the 14th century. Archaeologists believe that it was likely founded in the late 13th or early 14th century. Due to its location, however, it is difficult to determine who initiated the foundation of the settlement. Researchers consider the Margraves of Brandenburg, who controlled nearby Neumark, as the most probable founders, possibly establishing Stolzenberg as a frontier town. The involvement of the bishops of Kamień is considered somewhat less likely. Historical sources and early maps suggest that Stolzenberg functioned as a town only for a short period before being abandoned. Quote, "We cannot say what its population was and why the town was abandoned. Usually, more than one factor determines a town's decline: its degradation to a village or its relocation. Sometimes it happens due to natural causes, such as floods or changes in transportation routes, reduced activity in a given town leading to the decline of trade and crafts, and the impoverishment of the town. Sometimes, of course, the causes are military events, wars, or invasions. Our work has revealed a general picture of the town, but survey research would be necessary to determine the causes of its decline," said Marcin Grzebkowski from the Relicta Foundation. The research was carried out in 2025 by the Relicta Foundation as part of a project co-financed by the Polish Ministry of Culture and National Heritage. Further non-invasive and natural science studies, as well as survey excavations, are planned for future seasons. Quote, "We plan to determine when exactly the town was founded and clarify the circumstances under which it became depopulated. It is crucial to determine the location of the church and the cemetery, which were first mentioned in 1291. This information will tell us more about the layout of the buildings. We want to interest our partners, the Schweden Forest District and the Sławoborze Commune, in participating in the costs of researching this unique site," Grzebkowski said. Well, I think that's pretty fascinating, and I'm sure that research is going to continue. Happy Easter, Wesołego Alleluja from Judy Solution and Supply on Walden Avenue. Wishing all an Easter blessed with peace and joy. Wesołego Alleluja from the Polish Singers Alliance of America, Central Administration, and District 9. Wesołego Alleluja, Happy Easter from the Board of Directors and members of Professional and Business Women of Polonia. Six scholarships offered by Chicago Society Foundation. The Chicago Society Foundation will be funding up to 6 scholarships, consisting of one $10,000 scholarship and 5 scholarships of $5,000 each to qualified undergraduate or graduate students pursuing full-time studies at an accredited college or university in the United States. High school seniors are not eligible. Scholarships will be awarded in August 2026 for the forthcoming academic year. Deadline for application and supporting materials, May 8th, 2026. This deadline will be strictly observed. For more information, visit the foundation website, www.chicagosocietyfoundation.org. www.chicagosocietyfoundation.org. If you know someone in college, in graduate school, check out or have them check out what the requirements are. And perhaps someone from Western New York will be able to take advantage of that generous scholarship opportunity. St. Louis Church hosts at the turn of the 19th century. The Camerata Chamber Orchestra and St. Louis Church Choir will present at the turn of the 19th century on Friday, April 17th, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the church, 35 Edward Street at Main in Buffalo, New York. Patrons will settle into the classical period with the charming overture to L'Amante Anonyme by the Chevalier de Saint-Georges, followed by the gorgeous Sinfonia to Giorno Onomastico by Antonio Salieri, carrying them through the height of the era. The evening program continues with the St. Louis Choir in Felix Mendelssohn's Passionate Grant Us Peace. Tickets available at the door or online at Eventbrite. Admission is $22. Youth 17 and under are always free. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Let's see if this is the last. It's not the last article. There are a couple of good ones that I'm just not going to be able to get to. There are photographs, a bunch of ladies. The men got the kielbasa, but the ladies got the butter lambs. Proudly displaying Easter creations are students from the March 28th Butter Lamb class under the direction of Michelle Kislook at the Am-Pol Eagle office in Cheektowaga, New York. And I have to say, they're going to give the Broadway market some competition here because they all look terrific. Very nicely shaped, nicely decorated, perfect size for your Easter table. There's also more photos of an excellent job. Teresa Bjovietz, instructor Michelle Kislook, and Selena Brachak show their Easter creations made during the recent Pysanki class at the Am-Pol Eagle offices in Cheektowaga. Participants took the colorful Polish tradition of making Pysanki seriously as they carefully decorated their eggs. And having took that class, I know how much fun it is. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the April 2nd, 2026 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle. We read from the Am-Pol Eagle every Saturday at 3 p.m. Your reader has been Joanne Janitsky. Thank you for listening. Vesoego, Alleluia.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Grand Island Niagara County Tribune Sentinel. At 5 o'clock, we have the Lockport Union Sun and Journal. And at 6 o'clock, we got the Wall Street Journal Off Duty. Stay tuned for these readings and more. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability